Turning to campaign 2020, for a full week, demonstrators are demanding change. Yesterday, the President of the United States threatened to use military force if violent protests didn't stop. A move former Vice President Joe Biden highly criticized in a televised speech. We are just months away from the 2020 presidential election, in an election year we've never experienced as a nation.
Facing Southwestern's Jim DeFede joining us now from his home. So, Jim, in this moment, who were the President and the former Vice President Joe Biden appealing to?
They really did each have their own constituency that they were trying to talk to. So let's start with the president. The president has been concerned, it appears, from recent polling, which shows that his numbers are softening just a little bit among the religious community, particularly evangelicals and Catholics. So what did you see? You saw two events in the last 2 days. Yesterday he went to that church outside the White House, held up a Bible. Today he was at another church, this one in honor of John Paul II, where he stood in front of a giant sculpture of John Paul II. So you get the sense that not only are these trips, but the president's new tone, this peace and strength, type of attitude, this idea of cracking down on the protesters. This is very much reminiscent of Richard Nixon's campaign in 1968, though he declared himself the law and order president. This is a base move. This is designed to appeal to his base. It also helps get him off of the issue of the coronavirus and the problems with the economy right now. He's trying to appeal to a different set of voters, ones who are terrified right now by the images they see on TV. Now contrast that with Joe Biden. Joe Biden played to his strengths today. Yesterday, in his speech, he was talking about empathy and really trying to lay out a plan. These are two very different approaches. He is trying to solidify his base among African Americans and also trying desperately to raise excitement for his campaign. The one thing the president has going for him, the strongest thing the president has going for him, is there is a great deal of enthusiasm among Donald Trump supporters for his candidacy. It is not as strong among Joe Biden. And so he's trying to really raise that up to a great extent. So you see Joe Biden today talking about specific plans, talking about things that he would do in terms of economic opportunity for the people, sort of social justice issues. It's a very interesting message, and it clearly delineates the two strategies you're going to see going forward: a tough law and order approach versus more of an empathetic approach. They each think that plays best to their strengths.
Jim, you mentioned that President Trump might be trying to sort of detract from the coronavirus pandemic here, but the fact remains that it has really changed the way that both candidates can actually campaign in this election season. We're not seeing those huge Trump rallies, and Vice President Joe Biden, former Vice President, didn't leave his house for several months because of the pandemic, so he wasn't out there on the campaign trail. How has this all impacted how they will campaign for November's election?
That's a great question. We are in completely uncharted territory. I do expect you're going to start seeing some of those rallies that the president has held before. I think we're going to see them open up again. But think about it for a second. People are now wondering if this moment that we've been experiencing right now will resonate in November. I don't know the answer to that. I think it might. But if you had asked me 4 months ago, what is the biggest issue in the 2020 election, everyone would have said the economy. If you asked me a month ago what was the biggest issue in the 2020 election, I would have said the president's handling of the pandemic. You ask today, and it's the issue surrounding racial justice and social justice and the protests that are in the street and who's best able to decide them. And we still have 5 months to go. So is this going to be one of those years where we started with the economy, we moved to the pandemic, we're now on social justice and protest issues, and we just don't know what the next 2, 3, 4 months are going to bring? I'm afraid that's likely to happen. Eventually, all of this is going to come together, and people are going to be able to look at the long span of this year and be able to decide who is best to lead us from 2020 into 2021 and beyond.
Certainly a lot for voters to think about and absorb. All right, Jim DeFede, thank you so much for your thoughts, man. Thank you.